Hey everybody, this is me, the Untitled Viking, and this is Imperius. Imperius is a game for 2 to 4 people, in which each person is going to be taking on the role of a fledgling house or political faction in a dystopian universe. It's always a dystopian universe, right? Where basically the emperor or empress that had been in charge for millennia or what have you has died. And now there's a power vacuum and all of you are rushing forward to try to grab what you can and become out on top, and so then you can rule the galaxies for ad nauseum for whenever, right? So this is a game of like hidden card values, hidden card abilities, and also just a drafting game with a little bit of like subterfuge and negotiation going on as well. I couldn't put my finger on like other games of its type exactly, but it made me feel like I was playing other games that I really enjoy as I played it. So let me show you how the game is played. It shouldn't take too long. I mean, it is just you know, there's some different cards that will represent the planets that you're trying to control, and each person has like a little deck of cards, but you don't actually get to keep them. The cards are communal, and everybody's going to be using everybody else's cards, and I'll talk about that when we get back here and talk about like the strategies and like my overall thoughts of the game. So here you go. This is Imperius. Let's show you how to play. Alright, this is a 4-player game of Imperius that I have set up. Now, the game is functionally the same with 3 players, and there's some slight rules changes when you're playing with 2. I would suggest that if you want to go ahead and read the rules and check out the 2-player version. I mean, it still plays the same, but just because of the fact that you have less players, you're going to be dealing with a little less cards, and there'll be some other cards put in the deck to make the game function as a 2-player. It does work really well as a 2-player game, but I'm going to show you what a 4-player game looks like. Each person is going to get a little player board. On each player board, they're going to get a casualty counter. Every time one of your nobles gets killed, you will move this track down on the casualty counter, and you lose victory points each time one of your people get killed. So don't allow that to happen if you can so desire. This is also a way you can actually knock somebody off their pedestal a little bit and deduct points for them. Now, mind you, this is the scoring track here in the middle. And as you score points, you will travel around the track. When people get killed, you don't reduce the number up here. You just will reduce it at the end of the game when you tabulate your total scores. Alright, so they also will have all these 8 control markers. If you are able to, you will be able to put control markers on these planets that have been set out, and I'll talk about planets here in just a little bit. Once you're out of control markers, you don't get to put any more out. So hopefully, not only one will you get your control markers out, because they'll be worth victory points at the end of the game if you do, but if you have more control markers than somebody else, you will then like control that planet, and you'll gain like the victory points that are listed on the planets. Like this one will be worth 5 victory points at the end of the game. Now, these planets themselves are the basic planets. They're just worth victory points and nothing else. Now, there are other planets that you can play with, like that have rules on them. So like this one's worth 3 victory points, but it says that at face down, all face down cards in this planet are considered to have the property of infiltrate. Now that doesn't mean anything to you right now, but as I show you the game, it's a word that, you know, affects different cards or things like that. So it's just a way the game will change up, and obviously once you've learned how to play the game, having multiple options for the different like planets that you have will change up the game and keep the game fresh as well. So it's a good thing that they included that. Now, this deck of cards here is set up with everybody's cards. Everybody's going to have several different types of people in their employ. They're going to have nobles, they're going to have ambassadors, they're going to have commanders, and so on and so forth. And assassins, for that matter. That's how people get killed. But you don't have your own hand of cards. The hand of cards, everybody's cards go into this pile here, and these cards are going to be distributed randomly to each player for every round of the game. Now you might be saying, what about my guys? I want to be able to play my guys. Yeah, but that's the whole point is that you're going to be having to be forced to play other people's cards, but you're going to be trying to play them in ways that isn't going to benefit them in any way. And I'll talk about that a lot more in my final thoughts, which is one of the reasons why this game is so cool. But, alright, so I should mention one other thing. There are cards, there are event cards, and you only take 4 of them. You get plenty of these event cards, and you add those, and you just pick 4, and you put them in the deck. Now, and I should just show you, like, these event cards. All the cards are going to have this kind of a number up here in the top, and some of these have exclamation points. When those are, like, different events, like, they play immediately. So when deployed, reveal one face down card with a planet, so on and so forth. But the cards that have numbers on them, when you reveal them, and I'll show you this when we kind of show you how to play the game, when you reveal the cards, you're going to set them up in like initiative order. So the lowest number first, and then cascading on down through the deck. So you do. There's a timing element with playing the cards as well. Something you have to keep in mind when you're playing those cards. Now, the last thing I want to tell you about is that you do have cards that are called elders that are right here. So, like, this is the Elder of Conscription, and they belong to House Xanthmere, and you can kind of see they have the same thing. And each one of these is an elder for one of the different factions. Now, the elders that I put in that deck, just because this is kind of like the basic game, don't have the special rules on them, as you can see that little text. And I'll talk about that in just a second. The ones that are just in there are just, they just afford their different powers and abilities to determine dominance in the different planets, and that's what they do. They don't have special powers. Now, this is once again something that you can add to the game. If you want to play with the extended version, you definitely can. Another way you can keep the game fresh and interesting. So, like here you have, this particular elder says cards with protect cannot be used in this planet. A Drakai player may ignore this effect. So, like, a Drakai has this elder, they place it down. A protect allows you to stop an assassination of a noble. It's just you'll see that here in just a little bit. But that's just something that gets added to the game if you want to just make it a little bit more complex and once again keep the game fresh. And that's one of those things I'll probably talk about a little bit. But I always like games that take the time to, like, okay, well, here's like the really cool basic version, which is still a really cool way to play this game, but they spin it a little bit and they add on like the different, like, I wouldn't say expansions really, but just modules that you can add. And let's play with the planets this time, or let's play with all of it this time, that sort of thing. And my personal opinion is you'll probably be playing with all of it once you play the game through once, because the game is pretty simple to grok. It's just mastering it and stuff. All right, so enough about that. Let's show you how to play the game. So you get this big deck of cards, and the game is played over a series of rounds. Each round, each player is going to get 5 cards, and then you're going to go through a draft. So I'm just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't know which cards are going where here. 3, 4, 5, and I'm really not going to be playing this smart in any way. I just want to show you how this works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so each person has their 5 cards. Let's just put those cards out to the side, and you can notice there's cards left over, and that's going to be completely normal. But you're going to need those because you're going to be playing multiple rounds. So each person is going to take a look at their deck. Alright, let's see what cards we got. So, looks like we got an event. Remember, each of these has this number up here that'll tell us, the order. Remember, the lower it goes first. So, like, this event goes first. It says nobles cannot score on this planet. Nobles are a card that allows you to score the victory points of the planet as long as they are not assassinated or somebody doesn't have an event card like that. So, having this is probably a good card to have in your hand because then, you can prevent people from getting victory points. Speaking of nobles, we got a noble of our own, House Drakai. So that's always nice to have one of our own. We have a royal guard from House Quell. Who's to our left? Okay, Xanthir is to our left. And House Quell is actually directly across from us. So, just things to keep in mind. Like, you don't want to be handing really good cards to, like, the person that really wants them. So, we have an ambassador for House Quell, and then we have a commander of our own. Oh, cool! We have a commander. So commanders score points if you have military strength on there. You have the most military strength. You not only will get a victory point, but you also get to place one of your tokens down on the planet that they're placed. So you can get a little bonus there. So now we have a tough decision to make because this is a card drafting game, as I said. We're going to have to pick one of these cards, and we're going to have to give the rest to the person on our left. And then we're going to have to hope that, either one, people give us cards we really want, or, maybe, because we have two of these cards of ours, like these two, and even this event is a card you probably really want, we'd have to, get these around to ourselves. So, we'll have to make a tough decision. Maybe we're going to take the commander card. Well, actually, the noble card, probably take that one, keep that one, and then hand these to the person on our left. And I'm not going to go through the whole process. I just because of the fact that it is kind of time consuming, and I just want to show you how the game is played. But if you play drafting games, you know how that works. You're going to hand it off. They're going to go to your left, and then you're going to get, I'll get 4 cards from this person over here. I'll look through those cards. I'll pick one, and then I'll pass the remaining cards to the person on my left, and so on and so forth. Eventually, what's going to happen is that every person's going to have 1 card left in their hand. That card those cards will be given to the first player, which would be me. They're going to take those cards and they're going to shuffle those up, and so they'd have 4 of these cards. You're going to take those 4 cards and you're going to shuffle them up, and you're going to put one on each one of those planets randomly. So all the cards are going to get into play. Alright, so let's go ahead and I'm not going to go through these. I'm just going to grab one from each, and these will be the decks that people have drafted. Now, this might not be the best draft these players could possibly do, but I'm just doing this just so I can show you how this works. Alright, so now, as the first player, I go ahead and shuffle these up, and I'm just going to take these and I'm going to start putting them down. So we get, there's a Royal Guard from House Drakai for the first one. We have an Ambassador for House Quell here, a noble from House Ashnan there, so if you have an assassin, you can make sure you go there to kill his noble. And then a royal guard from House Zathmir there. So as the first player, what I can do here is, now this is one of those interesting things where my royal guard from my house got out there, and I have a noble for my house. And so then the nobles could possibly assassinate, but everybody knows that I have my royal guard out there. Now there's a couple things, a few things you should know. You can only put up to 5 cards on each planet. You can also put cards face down, and that includes the card that is already on there right there. Now you can also put up to 2 cards face down on each planet. Once 2 cards are face down, you can't put any more face down on the planet. So if you have a card that you want to hide, and so people don't know what you have there, it's a good idea that you do it quickly so you don't run out of room there. Also, it's a good idea that if you want a gun for a certain planet and try to get one of your tokens on there, into if you have a commander, so to speak, you might want a gun for that as well. So there's certain things that you want to keep in mind if you notice that royal guards here, they have, the Royal Guard, has both a 2 in strength and a 2 in favor. So they're a pretty good card, and plus, like I said, they can protect a noble if an assassination goes through. So, if I take my noble, like so, and I can go ahead and I can put it down like this, and I can put that there. Now, people can have an idea that I put a noble on there because that is my guard, but they don't know for sure because it is face down. Now, I should mention there's a couple other rules. If you have a card that says infiltrate on it, an infiltrate card is able to be put on a planet no matter what. They're considered to be lurking in the shadows and spies and whatever. They can get away with it. The other thing is, is that there are certain cards, like I showed you with those event cards, that are immediate cards. So if you put them down, they'll have an effect that happens right away. The other thing is that some cards will actually say that you can't play them face down. So you have to reveal them. So you have to abide by those rules. So and I haven't really, like as I said, I haven't really looked at these cards. So I'm just going to kind of go through here and see if I can actually. So how's Zathmir? Oh, they actually got. So they actually have an assassin, which is kind of cool. So here I'll just show you an assassin. So, it says assassinate a noble from another faction on this planet and score 1 victory point. So we could go ahead and put that assassin. So maybe they want to call my bluff, and they put a face down assassin in that location. Alright, just quickly, let's just play one more card for each one. So here we have, let's see if they got any of their own for House Quell here. Well, they did get an assassin, so we can go ahead and we can maybe put the assassin on that spot right there. And let's see if House Ashen got any of their own cards, just from my incredibly random. Oh, they got their Elder, which is always good. And this is a really good event actually, where no other cards on this planet are resolved after this event. It's a 9, so it's kind of in the middle, but still, it's pretty cool. So, let's make sure they play their Elder, and hopefully, this one is worth 5 victory points. So let's go ahead and place that like so. Now I'm not going to go through everything. I just want to make sure that I have 5 cards on here so we can show how this works. So I'm going to play my commander on there face up. Now there's 4 cards there, and let's go ahead and just make sure we get a 5th card on there. Did Quell get? So let's go ahead and they put their commander on there as well. All right, so just imagine now we have all the cards out, and nobody has any of these cards. They've all been played and they're out on the planets. Now normally what would happen is you resolve this planet, then that planet, and so on and so forth, and go along the line. But we're just going to resolve the first one and just show you how this works. Okay, let's resolve the first planet. And this is a planet's worth 3 victory points, so if we are able to get control of it at the end of the game by getting these markers on there, it's going to be worth 3 victory points for us. And also, if my noble can score on that planet, it's going to be worth 3 victory points for me right away. So, alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take all these cards, and we're going to set them up in the order. So we're going to start with the 0, and then we're going to go with the next number, which is the 6, and then we're going to go to that 7, and then we have these 2 10s. And we're going to put those in the back. Alright, so the first card is this Royal Guard. As I said, it's got 2 strength and 2 favor, so it's actually a pretty powerful card, but it also can protect my noble. Remember, you need victory points to win, so even though you might want to hold on to him because of the fact that he has he's worth 2 in each of the categories, you want the noble to survive. So the next card is this assassin. So we're just going to keep that guy there so we know that he's there. Alright, so the assassin has strength of 2, and they assassinate a noble from another faction on this planet and score 1 victory point. Now, if there were multiple assassins, the assassin whose faction had the most strength on the planet would win the right for the assassination or whatever. So in this case, so we have an assassin. They're going to want to assassinate our noble, and so we have a decision we have to make. We're going to have to figure out if we want to actually kill the noble and then lose a victory point technically, and we're probably not going to do that. But remember, we have a commander on this spot as well, and so when the commander comes along, he's got 2 for his military strength, but the noble's got 1. So you have some thought where you want to look at all the cards. So if he lost this one, would we still have our military strength? And the answer, of course, is yes, because Zathnir's got 2 and Quell's got 1. So we can willingly say, okay, see you later. Thanks for doing your job, Royal Guard. But he gets assassinated, and he's going to take the fall for our ambassador. And we're going to go ahead and discard him. Now, if we had chosen to let the noble get killed, we would then move that down like so on our casualty marker. If your casualties ever reach -8, that's as low it can possibly go. You don't actually get harmed anymore. You're probably not going to win, but just so you know, you can't go any further. So the assassin's done, but the assassin stays there because remember we are going to keep their strength and their favor, there. So the noble is still alive, so we get to score the victory points on this planet. So we look at the victory points of the planet. It's 3, so the noble's going to score those 3 victory points. And so we're going to skip, and we're going to actually skip our House Drakai here real quick, and we're going to show the commander. So the commander, for House Quell, we'll look and see, now did they score, does he have the highest strength in this planet? We've already determined that he doesn't. So he doesn't score a victory point. He does not get to place a control token on this planet. However, we get to our commander. We already determined that I'm going to have the most strength. We're going to get a victory point for this. And then we get to take one of our control tokens and place it on the planet like so. And so then we're going to go ahead and we'll take the rest of the cards. And we're done. And we move on to the next planet. We do the exact same thing for each planet. Reveal the cards that are there. And then process that. Now, what happens, and I just want to show you, I'm going to collect the rest of the cards and just kind of put them and discard them. So after you've done all of those cards, you're going to have a big stack of cards like this. You shuffle them up, just so you know, and then remember the remainder cards that were left, you will then, these are shuffled, you'll place them at the bottom of the deck. So those cards, some of them are going to get back into play with the next round. So as soon as somebody gets to 20 victory points, that is going to signify that the game is going to end. If it happens in the middle of a turn, you will finish off that turn. But after you're done with that, that is when you will go ahead and do the final scoring. You are, for every one of your tokens that you have out, regardless if you have the majority on any of these planets, those are all going to be worth a victory point for yourself. If you then you're going to go through and you're going to minus anything you had from casualties from your total. And then whoever has the majority of control tokens on each of these planets will score the victory points for that planet. If you tie with somebody, nobody gets anything for that planet. It's considered to be a stalemate in that spot. Then, whoever's got the most victory points will win. If there is a tie, there are some tiebreakers. The person with the least number of casualties will win. If you're still tied, the player with most control points on planets wins. And if you're still tied, which is rare, though it did happen once when we played, 2 people will share the victory. Or multiple people, if 3 out of the 4. You can all laugh at the 4th person because they didn't, and you could all share in that victory at the end. But there you go. You should have a real good idea of how Imperius plays. This game reminded me a lot of other games that I've played with a lot of the extra stuff kind of stripped away, and the stuff that I really, really like about these types of games were thrust into the forefront, and it scratched an itch in a short amount of time, which is something I really, really liked about it. But let me talk about that a little bit more, and a little bit more about like the replayability of the game in my final thoughts. All right, that is Imperius. And I should have mentioned, this is from Colossal Games. Man, they are like crushing it, and like they're just like pumping out games left and right lately. And I should mention also, just in case you're wondering, Travis Chance, one of the creative minds behind Colossal Games, is actually a really, really good friend of mine. He asked me if I want to play this game, but he knew this is a game I'd really, really like, because Travis knows what I like. So he's also the one who begged me to wear this bandana. So I did. But anyway. So, Imperius. Like, okay, if you've watched my channel, there are certain games that I really, really like. I really like games with reveal moments. I really like games with hidden information. I really like card drafting. It's just, and I'll kind of touch on each one of those as I'm talking. I should have been actually going back and touching on it. Reveal moments. I've mentioned this many, many times. I'm a big fan of people at a table all engaged in the game. I can't stand, I don't know where my phone is, but I can't stand where I'm like trying to decide what I want to do, and I happen to look up at the table, and I'm not like, it's like 7 minutes into my turn, I'm trying to figure out, like, literally, like, I've had like 15 seconds to think about it, and I look up and everybody else is just, I hate that. It's like I'd rather be playing a computer game than 3 zombies on the other side of the table. But when you have a game where, like, the turns are fast because it's just you're playing a card, right? And you have to kind of keep track of the different cards that are being played. Plus, you have to keep track of also, like, just, memorizing in the back of your head, kind of like, you know, which cards of yours that you've seen, and then where those cards could be, or what other cards people have played, that sort of thing. Because there's a draft as well. I'll talk about that in a second. You have to pay attention, and when people have to pay attention to a game, then they're engaged, and we're having conversations, and we're discussing things, and like, it isn't like we are, you know, like, yes, playing a game is the point of the game is to play the game, but I play games to, like, you know, see people. If that makes sense. And so I really enjoy reveal moments, because when you're turning cards over to, like, show what's going on in a certain spot, like, you know, and turning them over to reveal them, then everybody else, once again, is zeroed in. They're focused on the game, and they're focused on what it is. And there's also that like, or like, yeah, you know, when you've guessed correctly, and like the mystery cards that are on that spot. So there's that. I mentioned card drafting. I don't know what the first game ever that I played with card drafting was, but there's something fun about the fact that you all, you know, get information about the cards that are being played and being passed around, and you know, trying to remember and seeing which cards make it back to you, so you know which cards got taken as they go. And so, like, there's also this cool thing where it's like, if you look at your hand and you see that, like, okay, there's like some cards of mine that are super cool here, but I want to be able to hold on to all of them or whatever, then you have to try to figure out which one of the cards that you want that you keep, right? And then you hand the rest of the cards off. And so, and then they keep, you know, going around the table, and you have to kind of, like, hopefully your card gets back. And when your card doesn't get back to you, then you know somebody's got it. Then you got to figure out where that person is going to put that card. Once again, the whole paying attention thing that's going on. So, you know, and I do just like, you know, games where I can directly affect the other people in some way, where I can try to mess with them, where I can actually do something to them as the game is being played, and this is one of those games that does that. So there's all of that, plus the fact that, like, it, you know, there's big epic games out there. Now, I've had people say, oh, like, somebody said it reminded them of Dune a little bit. I don't know if it reminded me of Dune, but I definitely get the impression, just like looking at the art or whatever, like the theme of it definitely has, you know, that feel to it. You know, but, you know, this could have been about pirates taking over warships or whatever, or it could have been, you know, like, you know, Martians fighting over asteroids for you know, for whatever it's worth. So that didn't necessarily, you know, come through for me, but I can see the comparison. There's a lot of different backstabbing, there's a lot of different treachery going on, and there's a lot of, like, you know, just tough decisions that you have to make, you know, in the game. And so, like, for larger, more epic games, you definitely get that feel in a really quick, like, 45-minute play session. So, you know, that's really awesome about Imperius. So, I don't know, if you like the whole hidden card thing, if you like card drafting, if you like the nice space theme, if you like a nice, like, you know, crawling over the the bodies of your opponents to claim victory type of game, then I really strongly suggest you check out Imperius. It is a very, very fun game that you can teach to your gaming group pretty quickly, but as far as them grokking it and, like, you know, being able to figure out strategies, it's going to take them a while. And when you have that type of thing where it takes you all to kind of formulate what exactly you need to do, that's what gets that game, that replayability that I mentioned. That's what gets that game coming back to your table over and over again, because people want to improve on how they play, and they want to change it up, and they want to do different things, they want to make things different to see if, like, a different strategy would possibly pull off the win for them. Now, remember, like I said, there also is, you can add these different, you have all these different event cards. You have the different elders, and of course the different planets as well. So you have lots of different things that you can add to the game that, you know, change up the replayability, and like I said, kind of modules that you can add that will alter things up. So there you go. That is Imperius. If you have any questions about it, please ask Will. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I am the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.